Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video. And today, we got the Machina banner we were expecting. I knew when I recorded that Should You Pull it was coming really soon. And we did get a Dare to Defy with it. So this Dare to Defy is just kind of like a unique side fight. It's not a part of any normal campaign, right? And typically when they come out with these extra fights, they are very difficult. And I did find this fight to be quite difficult. That being said, I do think there's also another Dare to Defy coming on, like, I want to say the 23rd or something like that. I'll have to double check the dates. But I believe there is a slot then where Beatrix and Celis would come. So I think they're going to do this again. And we're going to get a banner with Beatrix and Celis. And they're going to do another unique Dare to Defy fight, right? So this fight here is actually quite difficult if you don't know how to deal with the mechanics. So it did take me a few tries to kind of figure it out, even with reading the mechanics. But I think the team I have here really fits this fight well and can really handle this fight well. So the first gimmick is this boss will basically counter kill you if you do physical damage to it once its gauge gets to 50%. Now the one thing with this boss is their force gauge does move very slowly, so you get time to prepare. So, you know, like Kurasame I did, there is a physical damage call, because a call will trigger it, right? Oh, sorry, I did something there where I died, but I just restarted. So it's all good. It's time for, it's giving me time to talk and set up. So it was one where I died early. I'm like, I'll just reset. So this is the actual winning fight here that is starting right now. But if you do your call early enough before he gets to 50%, you can still do physical damage stuff and you'll be fine, right? The other issue is if this guy ever breaks you, they auto-kill you. And I think that's what just happened on that first failed run. I accidentally let myself get broken. I didn't have like my battery stuff up yet. The timing just was like kind of off on that, which is fine, right? So the thing with this boss is it can be really frustrating because it has a lot of ways to auto-kill you. But once you understand that and you like build your team around it, it wasn't really the worst fight ever. And their force gauge doesn't like auto kill you. It's actually not that bad as long as you're fulfilling what they want. And their force duration is short. It's only like 4 turns or something like that, right? So it's not like one of these ones where you feel like you can't let them have their force time. They didn't have any mechanics where I was doing 0 damage, so that was really nice also. So my thought here was, okay, I'm going to set up a full magic damage team, because magic damage is safe to do the whole way through. And then the other thing, so one really nasty thing this boss does. So as I said before, if you get broken, like you'll insta-die, right? So having a lot of battery is like really good, or characters that can help you not get broken is good. So that's why like Aerith and Hope are really good here, because like Hope has Shell, Protect. They're both battery characters, right? It's just like a very safe setup. And then... what's his face? Why can't I even think of the name of the guy I've got in the party here? Vaan. Vaan. Sorry, there's a lot of names in this game. I've said that before. Sometimes you can't pull a name out on the spot, right? But Vaan, I thought, fits this fight really well, because he's single target magic damage, so he's like a single target specialist. So he's going to do a lot of damage in the single target fight, and he's magic damage, which is what we want. But his BT effect basically gives everybody a Brave Floor or Brave Retain. So you always, even if you were to expend all your Brave, you actually would retain a good chunk of it. So it's not like necessary that you would get broken, right? The other thing this boss does that's really nasty though, is at certain thresholds, they will put a debuff on you that is a death debuff. Which, what the death debuff does is when it counts down to 0, and it's only 1 turn, right? So basically, you take 1 turn with it on, and it auto-breaks you. Well, that auto-break then would trigger an automatic death. So you have to basically make it so that if you see that debuff, that you can immediately cleanse it, or just make it so you can't get the debuff on. Well, this is where Aerith is super helpful, because Aerith's, whatchamacallit, Seal Evil makes it so you can't be debuffed, right? And then I think Hope also has debuff evasion. So I've got a lot of pieces there to make sure we don't get that debuff on, because that'll essentially auto-kill you. So to what I'm doing here is I basically set up, and they're really pushing Hope in this fight, because Hope's force does kind of, is like the force counter to this boss. Now, this boss has a unique thing where it's kind of like in a defensive mode. So you notice my Brave damage was pretty low early on. But what you do is by using the force counter, it puts them into, like, it says their defenses are crumbled or whatever. They go into an easier state to do damage, where they actually take more damage. And so Hope's FR does that. So what I did here was I opened with Hope's FR, and then I'm going to double echo with Aerith to get the gauge up really high, and then we're going to go into a Vaan burst and let Vaan kind of go crazy. The nice thing about this team, this is a fight where I don't know if you're going to get it done in one force. I did see some people do Tifa runs, which makes me think, yeah, you maybe can get this done in one, because Tifa, you kind of got to get it done before they hit 50%, otherwise you're going to get counter killed. But one thing that makes it difficult to get this boss down in one force is that they're not launchable, right? So that kind of hurts the Tifa strategy a bit, because I would do something similar with Vaan. Now, Vaan and Tifa were kind of like neck and neck for best damage dealer for single target. I would say Tifa's definitely separated herself a bit, like with her Echo and her upgrade. But Vaan here is still doing good damage. Like, he's putting up 10 mils per shot here. Still doing his work well. So I really like Vaan, and this is why I love Dare to Defy, because I haven't actually used Vaan in a while, and Vaan is still very powerful. He's a character I probably don't talk about enough, but he's putting up really good numbers here. And the other thing that works great with Vaan, so that was an auto debuff inflict. That would have been the death debuff, and then it would auto break us and he would kill us. So being able to evade that is very, very important. But yeah, really liked being able to pull out Vaan for this fight, because he also does the White Whirl, which puts blind on the boss. And that blind helps us debuff evade as well if we say didn't have Aerith or Hope to do it. But it also helps us dodge a lot of attacks. Now, it's not a guaranteed 100% blind, but there's a pretty good chance that we get missed, right? So I feel like every character here just really works to help us in this fight, right? We've got magic damage, which we need, a lot of battery, we've got the Brave Floor mechanic, we've got ways to evade the debuff. Once you kind of get all that taken care of, like, it's really not bad of a fight. Then it's just a matter of taking our time and getting the stuff, the HP down. Because what you're going to notice in the rest of this fight, even though I did numerous attempts, died many times, that was me figuring out how to deal with the mechanics. Once I figured it out and I kind of put a team together, now it's really, I don't really think we're ever in danger in this fight. And the nice thing is that I like about having Aerith around is if we accidentally did an oopsie or he did something to surprise us, we've got that auto revive that kind of saves the run if we want to continue it. It's not just like a game over. So Aerith is just really nice in this fight. Now you might say, well, why don't you just use Quina or something like that? Or why didn't you try Tifa? Well, this is Dare to Defy. Characters get locked out. I already used Tifa. I already used Quina. I think Quina would be really nice in this fight because, once again, the boss does kind of have like a tanky shield thing up where you could just ignore the mechanics and just like attack through it. So you definitely could do that if you wanted to. I think Quina would work fine. I have seen or people mention that they've done Rubicante runs. And Rubicante is actually what I initially wanted to run here, because Rubicante fits everything the fight wants. It's magic damage, and really, provided Rubicante doesn't get broken, we're fine. Well, what I was finding with Rubicante was I would actually get broken early, and I kept getting broken during the fight, and he would auto-kill me. So I decided to like give up on that strat. I'm like, I'll just kind of go. And then it naturally was like, well, maybe let's do Rubicante and Hope, because I think Hope's FR deals with the thing. And then it kind of just evolved, and I said, well, let's just do a more offensive team, right? I decided to do that. Plus, Rubicante, I think, would probably come into play later, because I'm going to assume, once again, I don't know what the fight is, but I'm going to assume Core's fight is going to, like, favor off-turn damage. So I'm wondering, for Core's Dare to Defy, maybe we can do something with Core and Rubicante and, like, really blow it up. So that's probably what I'll do. So, and being able to save Rubicante is really good, because I think this is going to be a tough Dare to Defy. What I'm hearing is some of these fights are quite difficult. So, anytime I can save a character, because here, like, Aerith is really, like, the main top-tier character I'm using here, but Vaan and Hope, those aren't characters that's like, oh, man, I wish I could use them on all these Dare to Defys. I think this is just a great spot to be able to use them and get away with it. So, yeah, there could be a fight where I really miss having Aerith, but you know what? I've got Sarah, I've got Garnet, I've still got top-tier supports, and Dare to Defy is really an event that supports you having a large box, right? Like a large inventory character. So, if you're a new player, do not get frustrated if you can't beat Dare to Defy, because it is hard, and it is meant for veteran players. So what I would say is, if you're a newer player, try to beat ones that you can, get as many done, because there are some rewards along the way, but I would not stress if you can't get all the rewards. The Dare to Defy rewards, these are bonus rewards that JP never got. So these are rewards above and beyond what came in the normal schedule. So don't fret if you can't get it done, right? And once again, every time they're trying to do that debuff at the threshold, it's trying to put that death debuff on. So I'm very good that we missed those, right? Now, what you're going to notice with this team comp as we're seeing the damage come through, like, nobody's hitting, like, Tifa numbers. Although Aerith's off turn, like, once we get this gauge up, hits really hard. So that off turn is great. But, you know, like, Vaan here is topping out at, like, 10, 11 mil. Like, and it's really good damage, right? But it's not like Tifa hitting 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 mil shots with launch, right? But it works out. So it just takes us multiple force times. But what I like about this setup here is you don't have to stress about getting this done in one force. And we're getting them below 50% on the first one, which is pretty good, right? Or is this the second force already? I might have lost count. I think this is still the first force. But with Hope and Aerith, like, it's so easy just to, like, back-to-back ramp into these really quick. And I actually had made a mistake on this. You're going to see in the run. I don't think I stall out too much. But there was, for some reason in my head, I was thinking mentally, because I think I end up using 3 force times actually in this video. Because what happened was I knew I started with Hope. And then I did, Aerith did double ramp right away, right? Like double echo. So I knew Aerith was out of force. And then on my second one, I do another Hope. So that, I honestly lost track, but I think this is still the first force here. And then we should go into another one with Hope, and that'll use up Hope's second force. And for some reason in my head, I mentally thought I was out of force times. Because I think in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh yeah, Vaan must have echoed. But Vaan doesn't have echo. So I actually get a third force with Vaan just to like clean up the last percent. Because we get them down to like 10% or something. Really, really low by the time we're done with the second force, right? So like I said, once we understood the fight, this really wasn't that bad. But you can see the boss with that yellow aura up. We're doing double-digit brave damage. So they are really tanky to get through. And once again, the way you cancel that is you have to do Hope's FR pretty much. I believe the FR condition was like, do a force with a magic damage dealer that inflicts a debuff. Is basically what it was asking for. And so Hope's kind of covered that, and that's what they're pushing here. But this was great. It was a nice spot, once again, that I could bring out Hope. Haven't used him in a while, and he is still very, very good. But you can see, we got him down to 30-something%, so definitely not too bad. But it's like, yeah, I've just got Hope and Aerith, so it's kind of like, all right, well, maybe we should just start ramping again. So I think with Hope's next turn, we just ramp right into the next one. And Aerith, dude, still putting up really good damage. That was like a 2 mil shot. That was just Aerith's EX, like, without a force gauge. Like, pretty crazy. Pretty crazy damage. And you see the enemy's force is slow, so it is really easy to kind of keep up and, like, get ahead of them. So I did do Hope EX there just because I had it. And then I think on Hope's next turn, maybe we ramp. But I'm pretty sure we just ramp into another one here. And I start using Red Spiral, because Red Spiral is actually the better one against single target. But I liked White Whirl because that has the blind debuff. And that blind was really coming in clutch. Now, I believe with this boss, you could just HP silence. So I think, like, Pain could be pretty good here as well. Although I think Pain has melee. I don't remember if Pain's is all magic or melee. I think Pain had a little bit of a mix, if I remember right from her guide. So you might have to be careful if Pain's doing melee damage. So Pain might not be the best option here. And I don't know that HP silence would stop auto kill stuff. It might. I haven't actually tested out, but I'm pretty sure it wouldn't, because they're not actually considered HP attacks. It's like the boss, like, it says the attack and your characters just die. Like, there's no brave damage, no HP damage. So yeah, I don't think that HP silence would help you from the auto kill stuff. But if you could say like HP silence with like Arciella, I think Arciella might work really well here to HP silence them down. You just have to make sure you support Arciella with like really good damage dealers, because her damage isn't very good. But yeah, I could see this fight being somewhat restrictive to certain players if you don't have enough good magic damage dealers to get through. But based on what I had available in my box, this team just seemed to fit so well and kind of get us through it, right? So I was checking. I was checking to make sure I still had Seal Evil up, because I don't want that to fall off, because I do not want to take that debuff. Dude, but yeah, Aerith's damage is just really good, really impressive. Very happy with Aerith's damage for like a support and like what she's doing, right? Alright, yeah, so you know what? This is actually... Yes, this was the end. Okay, So I must have already done 2 force times, so I was off by 1, because I think this is where I go, and yeah, so this is my 3rd force, I believe. So what it was I thought I was going to have to slog through this last 30%, but I didn't realize Vaan still had 2 force times. So I'm like, oh, well, let's just go into Vaan, because you probably noticed I could have ramped up way earlier and done this before they even got into their force. And I'm like, well, I guess we'll do that now. And so now our damage is going to pick up, and by the end of this force, we should have the fight done. And we kind of get there. So once again, you kind of see my process as we go through here. I kind of try to talk through it. It's not like I just open up this fight and instantly win. You even saw me do like a quick death at the beginning. But I don't know, I probably did like 4 runs before this until I finally figured out the combination of what I wanted. And that's kind of what a hard fight should be, right? Like if you can just walk in and beat it right away your first try, the fight's probably not difficult enough, right? So it can sometimes suck, like trying to like spend a lot of time, because I'm someone that doesn't have a lot of time, right? So I do get a little frustrated. Like I wish I could beat it always on my first try just because of my time that I have. But it also feels really rewarding when you die a few times, you learn something new from the fight, play with your team comps, because that's really what the fun of these games is it's a lot of team building and trying out different characters. And Dare to Defy just exemplifies that so well, where it got me to go in and dig out Vaan and Hope, which are characters I hadn't used in quite a while, and they're still pretty dang good. And it just goes to show that, yeah, if I want to pull out Vaan again on a current Shinryu, I know he can still put up some good numbers. So yeah, just very, very happy with this fight. We'll see if I can get all the way through the rest of the Dare to Defies. But yeah, it shouldn't be too much longer now that we got some percentages. And then yeah, Aerith popping off pretty big damage there with the overhead. Very, very good. This also shows why Aerith is so cool, because I just love that her burst effect has no turn count. So we could do like a pretty long fight, and we could, as long as we don't die, we just have her burst effect in like those follow-ups. Like it's so good. Crazy good damage. And for those of you that are like if you're not a veteran of this game, like, so right now we're on turn 35 or whatever. I think we end up doing this like 42 or something. I think the turn restriction is like 80 something turns. So you have a lot of leeway. So even if you don't say have Vaan, like you could just bring in like decent magic damage dealers and probably get through this just fine. And you wouldn't have to do a bunch of echo. You could literally take 4, 5, 6 force times with how this team can ramp. You could definitely do that, and you could just beat them down a little bit slower, take more turns. You have plenty of leeway to do that. For players that are not veteran players, it used to be these really tough fights. You would go down to the wire on turn count. And if a fight gave you 80 turns, you would expect to go 70, 75 turns. And these were like long 40-minute fights. So even this fight for like a modern player seeming very hard, like this is still probably easier than some of these really old fights that went really, really long, right? It's pretty, like with force and echo and all of that, it's pretty much taken us to the point where we expect fights to go quicker, because if we set up our teams right, we're doing like, 200, 300 mil burst phases. So that's kind of exemplified things. But yeah, to have a fight that takes a little bit longer, I think is kind of fun. So actually, no, I ramp up again here, and we go into another force time to get the last 10%. So yeah, we did like, I'm pretty sure I did 2 Hope force times. Maybe because Hope doesn't have echo. Yeah, I think I did 2 Hope forces and 2 Vaan forces. So yeah, this would be like a 4 force time fight, which is not something I'm used to doing. But it was nice to have access to that. And I think we're getting to the point in the game where force has been out long enough. I think you probably want to go 3 force characters on a team if you can, especially if it's a tougher fight. That way you have the option to do 6 force times if you really want to, or you can use some echo to speed it up a little bit. But yeah, it felt really good to get this fight done, and it was kind of fun not just getting it done in one force, right? And I actually almost gave up on this fight at one point, because I'm like, oh, this is like when I had him at like 30 something percent and I had thought all my force times were out, I'm like, oh, I don't know. And then I was like, well, I'm still doing decent enough damage, and his percentages were going down. I'm like, well, I think we can still get this in 80 turns. If the turn count had been like 55 or 60, I probably would have given up, because I had forgotten that I had 2 force times with Vaan to use. So yeah, it turns out we did end up using them both. And once again, it's one of those things where if you can't launch and you can't put a character like Tifa in there to get the crazy damage, it's just going to take a few more force times. So, and this even wouldn't be the cleanest run, right? And I don't think I ever claim to have perfect runs. What I really do when I do these videos, it's not like me saying like this is the best team and this is the the optimal run, like low turn count. No, it's just me naturally playing the game and talking to you guys about how I figured it out and helping you guys maybe figure out a strategy you might need to use. But there are other YouTubers that like do really refined runs. If you want to check out those guys, I mean they're definitely out there. But yeah, mine's more like the casual everyman's player. Like this is how I figured it out with my Joe brain. Without like, I don't research fights typically ahead of time. I read the boss descriptions a little bit. I play them myself and we kind of figure them out. But I think Vaan's going to finish us off there. Yeah, with a 12 mil shot, not too bad. So anyways, guys, there you go. There's Dare to Defy 3, Aerith, Vaan, and Hope. Very fun run. Like it was a pretty fun one. So looking forward to more Dare to Defies. Kind of nice too that they put this right in the middle of two characters. A nice little, intermediate fight to hold us off until our next banner comes with Balthier. Pretty excited about that. So anyways, guys, let me know what you did for this run. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.